first off, I want to thank everybody who's watching for tuning in. This will be most likely the last one of these segments that we do, since we have made it officially to graduation weekend. But I've invited two of our spring sport coaches on today. We've talked to a lot of our athletes and a couple of our head coaches I think would be really neat to hear from. And so Aurelia Gamch, our head softball coach, who just finished in her third year, and Ed Fye, our head track and field coach, who's finishing his more than third year. But we're going to talk to both Aurelia and Ed about some of the things we've been talking with our athletes about, and hopefully it'll be good. So first off, to both of you, thanks for joining me. Ed is just outside of Crete, and so we won't spend a lot of time talking about what life is like around here, because we've done that with a lot of our local athletes. But Aurelia, if you want to share a little bit about where you are and what the restrictions are now, and maybe what it's been like for the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, so I'm actually back in California, and so the cases here are pretty high, and they just extended our lockdown. It was supposed to open today, as of today, and it got extended to May 31st. So that's unfortunate to hear that. But so right now, basically, it's grocery stores, essential businesses. They are requiring face masks everywhere you go in public places. But they just are going to add authorized businesses. So it's going to be your auto, boat kind of places, garden stores, furniture stores are going to start opening up on next Monday. So that's going to be interesting to see, and they're going to evaluate that for 2 weeks and see how that goes. And if the cases go up with that being open, then they're going to reevaluate and probably close all of that down. So, but we're allowed to go outside still. Weather's nice here, so that's nice. Being able to go on walks, all of that, and just spending quality time with my family has been nice, especially with my nephew. I don't get to see them that often, so that part's been really nice.
Good. Well, Ed, you've been spending a lot of time with your family also, with the local schools shutting down when everybody did. And I guess if you want to touch on briefly, Ed's oldest son, is going to be coming to Doane next year, and also in track and field, lost his high school season. What has Zach been able to do as far as training here in the last month or so as he's getting ready for college?
Right. He's pretty motivated anyway as an athlete, and he's doing a decathlon, and it's been kind of fun watching him, because if you know much about the decathlon, you look at every event and how much you can score and how you get better and who's out there. So he's got the bug, and we were pretty fortunate before we closed. We were able to take a weight rack and some weights and some things to come home. So our basement is a workout facility, and but he really enjoys the training. He spends 2 to 3 hours a day with either core strength or lifting and running, and he's actually working with a couple local kids that are going to be freshmen, and his little brother a little bit, and going in and helping them. So he enjoys that part of helping as well. So he's been busy and training and watching videos, and we were able to get out a little bit and grow and do a little bit on our own. So he stayed active, and he's excited about next fall and spring.
Well, good. And he's fortunate, I think, having that situation, being able to work out. A lot of the athletes that we've talked to have been all over the place with having access to a home weight set and having no access, and not even be able to get outside and run, right, and that sort of thing. So anyway, so that's good.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit with both of you. And Aurelia, I'll have you go first, with taking you back maybe 6-8 weeks ago, and you were 2 or 3 weeks into your season. And I know, as you shared with me, you felt like the team was just starting to mesh and just starting to come around. And then all of a sudden we found out that the season's done and your 6 seniors are no longer on the team. If you can talk about how how that all affected you, and where you were when you found those things out, and share some of that with us.
Yeah, so we were actually, when we found all of this out and this was all happening, we were actually on a spring break trip in Arizona. And so we were enjoying it. We were hitting that point that our last 2 days that we got to play, that Tuesday we won our 2 games, and then the next day, Wednesday, which we didn't know that those were going to be our last 2 games of the season. It was a dogfight. I mean, the girls, they played their hearts out. We lost both of those games by 1 run. But I saw something different in them with the fight that they had. And I truly told them after those games, not knowing it was the end, that I think this is our turning point. I can see it. I truly believe that. You just saw the difference in their performance, their demeanor on the field, their attitudes, and so our last day that we were supposed to play was supposed to be Thursday, and those games actually got canceled due to rain, and that's when we kind of heard stuff on the news that was going on, and I'm like, oh my goodness, is this like going to be a big thing, and then we started getting the emails and all of that. And we were trying to keep our girls busy and not focused on that until we knew for sure what was going on. So our last day, we got into Phoenix, Arizona, and we put them into a house so they can all spend it together. And they had a great time. And it's kind of like a bittersweet of they got to spend that last day with each other and really enjoy those memories, make those memories, with as a whole. And it was really great to hear that they had so much fun, not knowing that was going to be the end. And so when we actually got back into Omaha at the airport, I told them right there, we didn't know exactly that our season was done. And so I told them, I was like, hey, we're going to come back after these 2 weeks, and we're going to be ready to go. So I was just like, let's just think positive. Let's keep our head up. Our mindset is we're going to keep playing. Not knowing that was going to be our last team meeting was at the airport. So it was heartbreaking to share the news afterwards that was it. It really just broke my heart. I know a lot of the girls were emotional, especially the seniors. In our senior class, it keeps getting better. And these 6 seniors have been with me for 3 years, and their leadership skills just really, it took off. They not only held themselves accountable, but held each other accountable and their teammates. And I think that's been the really part of the process and how it's been going with this program. And so early on in the season, in the beginning, our first weekend in Texas, we actually played against 2 ranked teams, and right there showed me what our potential is for the season. We lost both of those by 1 or 2 runs. We were beating USAO, who won the championship 2 years ago. And we had them all the way into the 7th inning, and then we played Columbia the next day, and we had them all the way till the 7th inning too. And we went 12 innings that game. And those are 2 top teams that have been top programs for a while. And just seeing that we can compete with them, we're right there with them, just showed the potential that we could have had throughout this season in a conference. So it was just tough to know that that's how it ended. It just really breaks my heart for them.
Ed, now your situation was a little different. You were still in season, but technically you were between your indoor and outdoor. So you were able to finish the national indoor meet and had a couple national championships and a 4th place finish in the men's, and then found out, I guess, right before the outdoor season started that there wasn't going to be one. So if you can share a little bit about how that went down and where you were when you heard and what you went through with that.
Right. When we come back from the national meet on a high, where the men finished 4th and brought a trophy home, and the girls were top 10, and had some really good individual performances. And we got back on Saturday night, and then they were gone for spring break. So really, we didn't see any kids on our team from the Tuesday before that at all, because we had been gone, the coaching staff. And middle of next week on spring break, when we started hearing maybe there was not going to be a spring season. And then we were going to go another 2 weeks into online and finding out. And then all of a sudden it became real that we're not having a season. And with our seniors, and one fortunate thing is everybody other national championships in the winter sports for track were the week after that, and they all got canceled. Division III, I think, was right in the middle of their first day or second day. So we were pretty fortunate to be able to have our kids have that opportunity, and nobody got sick or had any problems from that. But it was a pretty void feeling, not seeing your kids and not being able to see them face to face to tell them about the situation and what we were going to try to do moving forward, and having to start figuring out with the coaching staff how we were going to do that and make our kids feel special and try to hold them together, and after we hadn't even seen each other for 2 weeks.
Yeah. With, I guess, the contact that you've had since then, one of the things that I've heard from a couple people on campus that our coaching staff as a whole has been remarkable in, I guess, the outreach and staying in touch with the students and helping make contact maybe when a professor is not getting replies that they need, and anyway, the coaches have been invaluable in this transition period with online learning. But Ed, you can go first, and then we'll come back to you, Aurelia. But how has that been? I guess what have you seen as your role here for the past several weeks in that support?
I just think the structure with our track program, our kids know that they're held just as accountable in the classroom as they are at track practice. You just can't not show up for work or in your sport or anything. That's just something in life that we teach our kids. You have to go, and you give a great effort when you go to class. I mean, that's why you're here, and to do that. And when they're here, I think we've been very successful with our kids' GPA and as a group, and even with the kids that I know that need a little bit more structure. I think the professors know that they can contact me, and we'll get them to class and help. But this has been a completely different way of life for them. I've talked to quite a few of them, even the really good students, just to try to stay focused and to get the work in. And you can lose interest and not go to a Zoom meeting and do some things. And thank goodness that Becky and I and the people have great relationships, and she would contact me, and I would be able to contact them immediately and get them back on track, and communicate with the professors and do the things we need to do. But it's been a difficult time, and even this week's the finals, and we're trying to get through that. So it's going to be interesting to see how our kids finish strong. And we kept sending reminders out that this is the expectations of our track team is to do things at a high level and finish strong. You can make sure that you're accountable at your Zoom meetings and your assignments and the things you need to do. But it's not like it's face to face and I can hold them accountable, emotionally when I bring them in, or to let them know how much we care and how important they are to get a degree. It's through a text or a phone call is a little bit tougher to get to them, I think, a little bit. And that's one thing the coaching staff does a good job, is building those relationships that our kids don't want to let us down, and they'll do the things we ask them to do. So it's been a struggle to do that, but thank goodness that the relationships we have with the professors and Becky to keep those kids on board and to not let them fail and get them back on board.
and Aurelia, and I kind of joked with you when you left town, you were almost, it's like you were catching the last flight out to get out to California before flights started to cancel and shut down. But so you've been doing the same kind of support from halfway across the country. But how has that gone for you?
You know, the transition's been hard for a couple of my girls. You know, it's kind of like mixed feelings of when we're in season, we're busy. I mean, it's nonstop of practices, games, traveling, and all of that. And it's always funny. I tell a lot of people we actually always have a higher team GPA in the springtime than we do in the fall. And you know, I think our student athletes, many of them are so used to being busy, you know, and so this downtime I think has been a struggle for a lot of them, and having so much time. And like Ed said, like losing a little bit of interest, you know. And so some of my girls are battling that of, you know, they're just like, I got this time, I got a whole week to do these assignments. Then they wait till the last minute, you know, then it's pile on pile, you know, just keeps adding up, you know. But, you know, some of the girls they actually feel like this transition's a little bit easier because they have more time. You know, so it's kind of like 50-50 with my team on this transition. You know, but we've been keeping up with academic meetings that we held when we were back face to face every 2 weeks and stuff. And so keeping track on that and making sure, you know, no one's falling behind on that end. And we've been doing team Zoom meetings as well, just some check-ins, all of that. Just keeping in contact with them as best as I can, and as often as I can, to make sure that they're not falling behind and they are doing what they need to be doing. You know, because just like Ed said, they're here for their academics and their degree first. You know, so that's the most important thing right now. You know, and just to finish strong through these finals. But I think my team has done a pretty good job, and they're doing well and finishing strong on these finals right now.
Good. Well, I think, like I said earlier, I think as a coaching staff, we've done a pretty good job of staying up with everybody, and obviously grades will come out soon, and hopefully we'll see some good things there. And I do think though that if we can get back on campus in the fall, that everybody's going to be excited and hungry to get back to work and have that face-to-face interaction again. Coaches, professors, students. I mean, I think for everybody, it'll be a special time when that finally happens. So, well, do either of you have anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap this up?
I just, you know, one thing that was important to me when I found this out was to make sure that this group of individuals, the seniors and this team, realize the sacrifice that they've made, and I really wanted to let them know that we did as a coaching staff and at Doane, that you know, their pitchers and their team pitchers are going to be right up by the national champions. And you can sacrifice a lot to get up there to be a national champion, but you know, the sacrifices that are forced are something that you have no control over. And I'm pretty proud of what they've done and how they've handled it, and how we're moved forward, because there was a lot of great expectations. Our men, I really thought, had a chance to compete, maybe to be a national champion if things went right, and the girls had a chance to be in the top 5 probably. You know, and the conference championships are huge to us as well, and not to be able to come together as a team to compete for those when you have those high expectations leaves a hole in your stomach. And you know, I'm just trying to give them motivation. And I don't know, last week, you know, we put a deal out where I'm trying to teach our kids that you don't have to be together to make a difference. And we cleaned up all over our communities and healthcare and a lot of different places to let them know that look at everything we accomplished as a team, and we weren't even together. And so little things like that to try to make them understand that everything they do as a Doane track and field athlete is still going to make a difference, even though it's not winning championships. It's still going out and representing the school and themselves.
Good deal.
And I just want to say that I am just beyond proud of my team and especially the seniors on how they handled the situation. You know, a real special moment that we had about a week or 2 weeks ago was we honored their senior night, you know, that we unfortunately couldn't have on the field. But our team put together a little iMovie video of each person, a 30-second clip of what that senior did to them, an impact that they made, or just how they feel about that senior. And watching that video and what they had to say about those seniors, honestly, was just special. And I'm just so proud of them on how they handled this whole situation, the team, and how they're still finding ways to stay together, you know, through social media, through Zoom meetings. All of that has just been special to see.
Good deal.
And we have our Zoom meeting with our senior, with tradition, we have senior speeches, and that's going to be this Friday. And we have all of our recruits and a few recruits that haven't committed that are going to be at that. That's usually pretty emotional time. So I'm looking forward to hearing that, because I think this one's going to be different than most of them, just because these kids didn't have that opportunity to compete. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say.
We'll bring a virtual pen and letters of intent, because my guess is those recruits that haven't made a decision yet, by the end of the meeting, they'll be ready to sign.
Yeah, that's my hope.
So cool. All right. Well, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.